Americans are not suddenly eating at gas stations because gas station food became glamorous. They are doing it because convenience stores learned how to remove one whole stop from everyday life. If one place can handle fuel, coffee, breakfast, and something hot for the road, the question stops being, is this a gas station, and becomes, why make two stops? That is why this story matters. When a place built for quick fuel turns into a real meal option, it starts competing with fast food, coffee chains, and every other low-effort routine people used to trust first. This is business case signals. For a long time, gas station food had one job. It was backup food. You bought it when you were too tired, too late, or too far from anything better. That image still lives in a lot of people's heads. Roller grills, dusty shelves, and the feeling that you were settling, not choosing. That the category kept moving while people were not paying attention. As one convenience store executive put it in an AP report, the business has spent decades moving from food that felt like desperation to food that feels like a destination. The real product here is not pizza, tacos, or coffee. It is one less decision. People are busy, tired, commuting, picking up kids, running late, or trying to get back on the highway. In that moment, one clean stop beats two separate errands almost every time. That sounds small, but friction compounds. Every extra turn, drive-through line, parking lot, and app check gives customers another chance to abandon the purchase. Convenience stores win because they collapse the whole trip into one move. Sheetz is a clean example of why this works. On its own site, Sheetz describes itself around made-to-order food and beverages 24/7, 365 days a year. That is not the language of emergency snacks. That is restaurant language built around convenience. The more that promise feels believable, the more a stop for fuel can quietly become breakfast, lunch, dinner, or late-night food without feeling like a compromise. Expansion also tells you how serious the bet is. Sheetz has spent the last few years pushing farther west, including its Indiana entry and broader Midwest ambition. Chains do not invest in new geography because hot dogs suddenly got interesting. They expand because they believe the habit can travel. If the model can sell food, drinks, and routine convenience in more regions, then the value is bigger than fuel margins. This is not just a Sheetz story. The whole category moved. AP reported that convenience stores were expanding coffee, adding made-to-order meals, and trying to become real alternatives to fast food for busy Americans who want easy and less expensive options. The same report, citing National Association of Convenience Stores data, said non-fuel sales rose from about $242 billion in 2018 to almost $328 billion last year. During the same stretch, cigarettes as a share of those sales fell from 31% to 20%. That tells you exactly where operators think the future is. The pandemic helped lock this shift in. When many restaurants shut down temporarily, convenience stores stayed open and kept serving daily needs. That gave the category more permission to become part of the routine, not just the road trip. Once people prove to themselves that a place can solve a need under pressure, they are more likely to trust it again later. Buc-ees pushed the category from convenience to spectacle. Its official locations page reads more like a travel infrastructure map than a classic corner gas station. Car washes, DEF, ethanol-free fuel, EV charging, and giant travel center-style stops all change the mental model. People do not talk about buc-ees the way they talk about a random pump on the side of the road. They talk about it like a destination. That matters because it raises customer expectations for the rest of the category, too. The winners here are not really selling food in the old sense. They're selling routine coverage, coffee for the commute, breakfast when the morning slipped, pizza or sandwiches when the drive home ran long, something warm when there is no patience left for a second stop. That makes convenience store food feel less like a weird exception and more like a practical life tool. And once people file a category under practical, they stop apologizing for using it. That is why the shift matters for fast food. If a convenience store can give you fuel, coffee, and a decent hot meal in one faster move, then a classic fast food trip suddenly has more friction and less uniqueness. AP even cited spot checks showing that some convenience store items were cheaper than comparable restaurant or coffee chain alternatives in specific markets. Fast food does not just compete on taste, it competes on low effort. And convenience stores are getting better at that exact promise. The deeper point is that people are not buying gas station food because they became adventurous. They are buying time, momentum, and fewer interruptions. That is what makes this a strong business story and not just a food story. When a category can absorb more of the day with one stop, it gets bigger share of wallet without needing customers to think much harder. That is one of the most powerful models in consumer business. Make the yes feel automatic. Of course, not every gas station can pull this off. The model needs scale, consistent execution, clean stores, decent food, and enough traffic to justify the effort. A dirty location with weak food does not magically become a restaurant because it added a touchscreen. But that is exactly why the leaders matter. They are changing customer expectations for what a convenience stop can be. This is the bigger lesson. Categories get re-rated when they solve a routine better than people expected. Convenience stores did not win by becoming luxury, they won by becoming more useful. That is often the real move in modern consumer business. You do not need to look premium if you can remove friction better than the old favorite. In other words, convenience became the product, and the food got good enough to make the habit stick. So America did not suddenly fall in love with gas stations. It started rewarding places that could make one ordinary stop solve more of the day. That is why food on the road looks different now. The best convenience chains are no longer backup options. They're building a faster version of restaurant logic around the trip people were already making. And once that habit clicks, a gas station does not feel like a gas station anymore. It feels like the easiest answer. What category do you think gets pulled into this kind of one-stop model next?